उसको कहाँ से इनके इधर तो कौन खड़ा होगा यार।
आपके पास ठीक है, आपके पास तो किधर है प्रोग्राम आपका? अब आ जाता है।
मेरा लैपटॉप
यूज़ करें अभी टाइम मिल जाएगा।
ठीक है, नहीं ये मेरे ख्याल से ये उनका जनरेट करनी है।
मेरा किधर है?
आपका इधर पड़ा हुआ था ना?
नहीं,
इसके नीचे इसके ऊपर रख दिया।
अभी यूज़ करें फिर डाटा जो है ना ब्रेक होगी ना उस वक्त कर लेंगे।
ठीक है, हम दोनों के लैपटॉप अभी दोनों इधर ही पड़े हैं।
मेरा चार्जर भी इधर।
ठीक है, ठीक।
Now I would like to invite Professor Jawad Sahab. He will be delivering a keynote speech on substitution boxes in image encryption application for high correlation data. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about substitution boxes that are used in image encryption application for highly correlated data. So as we all know that images are highly correlated and it's not easy to encrypt them using simple methods. So there are some special techniques that are used to for the substitution and confusion, which we will discuss later on for the confusion and diffusion. That's my brief introduction. I'm an assistant professor at Edinburgh Napier University, United Kingdom. I've completed my PhD from Glasgow University. I have more than 10 years of teaching experience in cybersecurity and AI. And I have taught a number of modules in different universities such as Glasgow Caledonian University, Edinburgh Napier University, and Hongik University, South Korea. At Hongik University, South Korea, I was a research scholar there. So in this area, in multimedia encryption and information security, I have more than 150 research papers. And I've been, in the last 3 years, my name was included in top 2% highly cited researchers in the area of cybersecurity and information security, more specifically in image encryption applications. And in the same area, we have received a number of grants, around 195K in image encryption and cybersecurity. So this is the content of my presentation. I will discuss what is image encryption and why we need image encryption, what are the substitution boxes, how we use them. I will also discuss what is chaos theory and how it is used in image encryption application. I will also discuss confusion and diffusion process, and I will discuss the transformative method, a new method which is used instead of the single S box or multiple S boxes. And for the diffusion, mostly researchers are using normal diffusion process such as random permutation, either it is based on chaos theory or not, but mostly it's a random permuted image. But we have designed a new scheme which is called context-aware permutation. So a bit background about the image encryption. This is the very simple scenario in which we have famous crypto couple known as Bob and Alice. They have wedding anniversary and they want to send their image, their wedding image. And in this scenario, eavesdropper want to see the image information. So they want to, there is privacy concern. Eavesdropper can see which image is transmitted between Bob and Alice. So in this scenario, it's just a normal privacy concern. But in reality, we have some more complex scenarios. So for example, I will give you an example of University of the West of Scotland, which is just 5-10 minutes away from my home. So I'm more aware of that university. Some of the researchers from UWS are here. They have experience in University of West of the Scotland. There was a cyber attack very recently on 13th of August 2023. That was the attacker were asking billions of pounds to give them access to their systems. And in their system, there were images, there were documents, and those images were even, there were the student card, the student information, which is printed on their card, staff information. So some of the information was obviously saved as an image. Okay, so we know that the image is one of the important area, and the images should not be saved on the cloud or in the database without encrypting them. So thousands of students and staff data were compromised based on that attack. So image encryption is one of the important field which the researchers should take care about it, because this is another example. This is a plain text image, and after using the encryption key, it could be symmetric key or asymmetric key, but a plain text could be encrypted in such a way so that the eavesdropper does not understand what are the original content. So that's how images are encrypted. So why we need image encryption? We need image encryption for a variety of applications. So for example, for the data privacy, even for medical scans and financial charts. Financial charts contain important information, and no company would like that their financial information no company wants that their financial information is seen by any third party or any eavesdropper. Of course, we need the image encryption application for the storing images storing images in the cloud. There are military applications as well. So there are numerous applications of image encryption. So for the image encryption, we need for the confusion and diffusion, we need multiple rounds. In one round, it might be encrypted, but based on some security analysis, we need to test the encrypted images based on there are a number of parameters such as correlation coefficient, entropy, number of pixel change rate, unified average change intensity, and so on. Based on that, maybe one round or two rounds are not sufficient, so we need in general terms, n number of rounds for the confusion and m rounds for the diffusion. I will quickly discuss what is the confusion and diffusion in image encryption. Now, there are two different definitions, but I will stick to this definition that confusion refers to changing the values. Some researcher define confusion as changing the position of the pixels, but we will stick to that according to one of the famous cryptographer known as Shujin Lee, which we have discussed with him, that the confusion is basically changing the values of the pixel based on key or some based on some substitution box or any other method. So confusion is basically changing the values of the pixels. Now, how chaos is used and why chaos is used in image encryption applications? So traditional encryption schemes such as advanced encryption standard and data encryption standards are not suitable for the image encryption because images are larger when compared to the text encryption. Images are highly correlated when compared to text. That's why for the images, we used other methods rather than traditional methods such as AES, DES, or any other methods. So researchers are trying to develop new methods using chaos theory. So what is chaos theory? Chaos theory are simple equations. There are one-dimensional equation, two-dimensional, and so on, multi-dimensional. So using chaotic maps, one can generate random numbers, and that random number is later applied in the substitution. I will stick to confusion and diffusion process. So chaos are basically simple maps. Chaos theory, chaotic maps are simple, either 1, 2, or 3-dimensional or multi-dimensional maps. Through that maps, one can generate random data, and that random data is later on used for the confusion and diffusion process. Why we use chaos? Because chaotic maps are highly sensitive to initial conditions. They have other properties such as ergodicity and sensitivity to initial conditions. So even if the initial key is slightly changed, the output is completely changed. The output data generated from the map is completely changed. So that's how chaos is applied in encryption methods. Now, that's what we have discussed, that a small change in input or key will produce a larger change or a dramatic change in encrypted images. So that's basically the how we can combine chaos with the image encryption application, and how we can use chaotic maps for the image encryption. So that's how we introduce non-linearity in our confusion and diffusion process. So using chaos-based pseudo-random number generated, that is applied either in confusion stage or diffusion stage for the non-linearity, and this is how chaos can contribute in image encryption applications. Now let's discuss confusion. As we have discussed confusion, that basically we can use substitution box for the confusion. In confusion, we change the values. We change the value of the pixels of an image. Okay. So how we can achieve that confusion? We can achieve that using substitution box. Now let's discuss about single substitution box, multiple substitution box, and multiple substitution box with multiple rounds. So substitution is a one-to-one function. Okay, it's a transformation, and a pixel is transformed or substituted from one pixel to another pixel, and that's the process that a pixel is split into most significant and least significant bit, and later on, based on that information, a pixel value is replaced with another value using that matrix, the substitution box matrix. So based on the MSB and the LSB, the pixel are replaced or substituted using that information. So there are issues with the single S box. So I know some of the researchers are here who are working in the area of image encryption. So if you see single S box has few problems. If you see that was the plain text image, when the plain text image is substituted with single substitution box, we can see the edges. The edges informations are not encrypted well. This is the histogram plot which shows the original plain text the frequency of occurrence of pixels. If you see the histogram, ideally it should be flat. But from the ciphertext, even visually, we can see that the contents of the original image are not encrypted well. That is the issue with single substitution box. Now, what researchers are now trying, they are trying to use multiple S boxes. Okay, and they use chaos theory, and based on that chaos theory, they are trying to use the decision will be totally random. So let's say we have 3S box, one pixel will be based on the decision from the chaotic maps. A pixel could be replaced with substitution box 1, substitution box 2, or substitution box 3. So it will be random. So instead of using single substitution box, researchers are trying to use multiple S box based substitution with the help of chaos theory. But we'll see that even with the multiple S box, I don't know if it is visible from the back side, but the plain text image is still not encrypted well and the contents are still visible. And if we see the histogram of ciphertext, it is not ideal in image encryption. The histogram plot should be flat, which should be ideal. So even multiple substitution boxes doesn't solve the issue completely because we can see the contents very clearly. Okay. Now, some of the researchers have tried to use multiple rounds of substitution with multiple S boxes. So what they tried to do, they want that instead of one round, let's try multiple rounds for the substitution process along with the multiple substitution. Okay. So along with the multiple substitution, let's go to the result. That was for the round 1. So that's round 1, and you can see the histogram. Now, see the results, simulation results for the multiple rounds. Okay, so even for the multiple rounds, one can see that the content with multiple S boxes, with multiple rounds, the problem is not solved yet for the substitution process of the pixels, for the image pixels. So this is the mathematics. I will not go into more detail of the mathematics, but I believe I have conveyed my information to the audience that using single S box, pixel can be encrypted, but there is a problem, even through visually. If you use multiple S boxes, still the information is not encrypted well. Third, even if you use multiple S boxes with multiple rounds, still there is a problem. And from mathematics, entropy, ideal entropy should be 8. So even for round 1, round 6, entropy is not changing from round 1 to round 6. Okay? So it means that we are not doing anything else. We just multiple rounds of the information is used, but it's useless. Even if you see visually, it's useless. But from it is proved through mathematics that even the entropy is constant for every round. Let's see for the correlation. So correlation, ideally it should be near 1, near 0. So if you see it's 0.1, we need correlation near 0. So even through mathematics, I'm not going into other details, but through visual inspection and through a number of security parameters, one can see that single S box substitution, multiple S box substitution, multiple S box with multiple round substitution has issues. Now, how to solve this issue? Here we have introduced, this is the problem which I have discussed. Multiple S boxes has problem, edges are not scrambled well. So the problem is here, but how to solve this problem? We have introduced a new method which is called transformative substitution. So what we do in transformative substitution, that's the similar method in which most significant and least significant bits are split. That's chaos-based key generation or chaos-based decision-making process. Let's go to the next slide where we have used different methodology than other researchers. We have introduced operation 1, operation 2, and operation 3 random. So using chaos theory, the decision will be based from the chaos theory, and an operation will be randomly selected from these 3 operations. Now, what are the operations in our newly proposed scheme for one of our funded project? These are different operations along with for the substitution. So for the substitution, we will use the transformative substitution method in which it will be with the chaotic key, it will be added, and we will through this operation. One operation is a shift, a circular shift, and one operation is the concatenation. So using 3 different operations, one can resolve the issues with single S box, with multiple S box, and with multiple S box, with multiple round of substitution. So let's jump to the results. So that's the transformative substitution. So as we know that was the plain text, that was the encrypted using single S box, that was with multiple S box, and that was with the multiple S box with multiple rounds. But with the transformative substitution, so the decision is based on the chaos theory, and the operation 1, 2, and 3. We have 3 different operations which will be randomly selected based on the chaotic sequence, and these are the results. So now one can see that this encrypted image, this is a well encrypted image when compared to the rest. So that's a new method. We call them transformative substitution instead of single S box or any multiple S boxes. Now let's quickly move to the diffusion permutation. So now what is diffusion? In diffusion we change the position of pixels. Okay, so the diffusion is usually issued through a method known as permutation. So the values are randomly permuted based on some technique, and the values can be randomly permuted using chaotic theory as well, or maybe any other methods. Now, what are the issues with traditional permutation? So traditionally, we can randomly permute any pixels. Okay, we can randomly permute any pixels, but that could be random permutation or through chaotic permutation or Josephus scrambling. One can randomly, I have seen personally in many image encryption papers that researchers are permuting pixels using either chaos theory, they are permuting using either randomly from some random number generator, some are using Josephus scrambling, some are using improved Josephus. But the issue with the random permutation is that the pixels might not be permuted well. So that's the issue. See, with random permutation, that's just rows and column permutation based on some random data generated from using MATLAB environment. We have generated the random permutation using this. If you see the correlation, it's 0.04, it's 0.3, and it's 0.02. But ideally, we need correlation coefficient near 0. So if you see, the contents are encrypted, but we want correlation which is near 0. So original correlation was 0.7, but we want something which is totally random. So that's based on some chaotic map. And if you see, yeah, the contents are encrypted, but if you see the correlation, it's 0.03. It's still high, not that low. We need least correlation coefficient for the encrypted image. And our target is to reach it near 0. We can't really get exact 0, but our target is that we get a value near 0. So that's the issues with the random, chaotic, and Josephus scrambling. Okay. Now, we have designed a new scheme for one of the project, which is known as content-aware permutation. So through content-aware permutation, we are using the concept of spatial frequency and local contrast information. And based on the average of these values, we have ranked the pixels, and then using that ranked information, we are scrambling, we are permuting the pixel based on the spatial frequency and local contrast information. And with the chaotic permutation key, just to obtain, in order to get the reverse transformation for the decryption, we are using chaotic permutation based encryption, chaotic permutation based diffusion. This is just visual information. So if you see, that was the information cluster. So the information which are almost same, and that's based on the ranked information. So then using the ranked information, it could be the information could be ranked between 0 to whatever values we have, from 0 to 3, 4, 5, and so on. And based on the ranked information, one can scramble the original image or the original pixel. So that's just the visual representation of the context-aware or the information-based scrambling. Now that's, I will quickly discuss about it. We have using some feature extraction method, such as spatial frequency and local contrast, and taking the average of them. And then the probabilities are, the values are normalized of this spatial frequency and local contrast. And based on this information, the pixels are ranked. And then using the rank information, one can permute the pixels based on the rank information, and using the feature extraction method, one can permute the original image. Now, I'm not going into details of how we achieved that. If anyone is interested, we can discuss at a break. But there are different steps through which we have achieved. Let's go to the results. Yeah. So let's see. That was rank-based pixel, okay? And with using the unique key, the final permuted image correlation is much, much less when compared to the other values. Let's go to the next slides so that we compare what we have achieved from our recent research, that random permutation, based on the random permutation, the correlation value is 0.04. And if you see other values, and with the content-aware permutation, we have achieved a value more near to 0 when compared to other. So the conclusion of this talk is that that's an open area. Images need to be encrypted for a number of applications, and one can use chaos-based encryption, but there are open areas and challenges. So for example, single S-box substitution is not going to work. Multiple S-box substitution is not going to work. Multiple S-box with multiple rounds of substitution is not going to work. And I have shown them visually so that you understand. Then new methods should be designed, even using the transformative substitution or content-aware. This is our idea. But what are the issues with these methods? Still, we are performing some additional steps, and of course, that will cause delay as well. So yeah, that's an open area for the research, and one have to think, so these are two issues with the image encryption or with the substitution box based encryption, but other researchers can work around it. Still, we are working on this area, because with the introduction of new steps for the transformation, such as we have used 3 operations or multiple operations before substituting it. We have used context-aware scrambling, which use spatial frequency and local contrast. But still, these are additional steps, and that will cause additional delay while encrypting. And in reverse order for the decryption, again, we'll need them. So that's the conclusion of my talk. If you have any question, please feel free to ask.
Just I have a question, one question, and one remark. The question is, first, you work really very interesting.
Thank you.
But when you listen to what is a computing cast?
Yeah, that's yeah. That's yeah.
The remark is you analyze the security just block by block. I mean that the fusion block then the diffusion. Normally, to study the security, you need to study the security of the
As a whole. As a whole.
If you look on the AES algorithm, AES algorithm, it has a very strong confusion operation, but a very weak diffusion operation. But the
As a whole, yeah.
is very good.
Yeah.
To meet in the cryptographic aspect is very strong.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
In our role.
Yeah, that's a very good question and comment. I appreciate you were listening very carefully what I have discussed. I appreciate that. For your first question, that's what I have discussed in the conclusion, that of course we have introduced new additional steps, and that will cost us for the computing power. So if we have, such as for the IoT devices, well, we will be very, we will think about it, how we can minimize the additional computing cost, but that there is trade-off between both. If I want to secure my information highly, if I want to encrypt it, and I want to achieve higher security, then with the cost of computing power. So there is trade-off between both. If I want to just use the substitution box-based method, then maybe the output encrypted image will not be well suited for some of the applications. So yeah, we haven't discussed here yet, but with the addition, with the introduction of new additional steps, there will be cost for the computational cost. For the second comment, yeah, I appreciate that as well. For the second comment for the AES, one should see the overall, security. So in image encryption, I know Mutassim, he's also working in image encryption area, and some other researchers. So for the image encryption, we have a number of security parameters that will be tested against that encrypted image. So that is correlation coefficient, entropy, contrast, energy, homogeneity, number of pixel change rate, unified average change intensity, key sensitivity analysis, so many. So if you compare them against with other traditional methods, such as even AES or maybe DES, yes, AES is the standard. That's advanced encryption standards, even the name indicated. But AES, of course, have more computational requirement, because AES is not well suited for IoT applications, and it is not well suited for the image encryption, because AES was designed keeping in mind about the text encryption. So for the images, researchers are trying to use lightweight maps, which is chaotic maps, or yes, as a whole, yeah. So we have to check, yeah. So, yeah, I agree. So as a whole, we have just, for the simulation purpose, we have shown confusion steps and diffusion steps, and later we will use those security parameters to check the exact, but instead of proving them mathematically just for the interaction purpose so that the audience understand, we have used after the confusion steps, we have shown different images, and for the diffusion, and yes, later on, the overall encrypted image will be tested against a number of statistical parameters. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to invite Professor Dr. Shafat Bazaz and Professor Dr. Mehmet to give a shield, and I would like to invite Professor Dr. Shafat Bazaz and Professor Dr. Mehmet for the participation, for the certificate and shield device. I would also like to invite Dr. Attar. Please come on the stage and join. Just come here on the light so you can have good pictures. Just come here. Sir, please. You can have. Sir, please.
Can everybody hold the camera for a second? Start name. One more. Start.
I mean, Now going towards the second session, I would like to invite Dr. Shafat as a keynote speaker. Thank you, Professor Dr. Mehmet Sahab. You can have a seat over there. And Professor Dr. Shafat to session the chair. Thank you, sir.
In between this session, we will take break. Like we will start this session, but we have to leave at 12:30 by bus for lunch. We have arranged lunch for all the participants. Then we will come back and continue this session. Okay, Doctor, continue.
Thank you very much, sir. The next presenter is Mr. Chun-Lun Lai. Sorry if I do the bad pronunciation. The title is that an optimal VR game content control strategy based on user psychological conditions. So with this, I request Chun-Lun Lai to start his presentation. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody. Good night. My name is Chun-Lun Lai, and later I will give my research project is about an optimal VR game content control strategy based on user psychological conditions. And I will make it very short because I'm a little late. I'm sorry.
Maybe you can use the laptop.
Oh, okay.
Technical difficulty with the cable because it's connecting and disconnecting. Okay, you can use here. Also, to point out, you can use this.
Okay.
Right.
This is my outline. And first, I will give you the background of this research, and I will give you the principal description and the experimental method and the simulation result. And finally, I will give you the conclusions and the discussion and the conclusions. Okay, the background of this research about the first question is why we need to control the content, especially for the VR game content. In some research about there are some potential harm in the VR game including physical injuries and visual issues, and motion sickness and social isolation. And finally, is the most important. There are some photo injuries among high risk populations due to excessive stimulation or perils, especially for some potential disease or heart disease or some high blood pressure, maybe. Okay, this is one report about the, if somebody play the VR games and he will injured by the very exciting content. And another is a report about can violent or scary video games cause heart attacks. The answer is yes. Yes, somebody in some news, I have read one report in American news, and elderly ladies dies in her house because when the police came through into the house, find the elder ladies die in her sofa and wear a helmet because they check the content of the VR game is a terrible game, and so they guess the elder ladies may be scaring and cause the heart disease. So our goal is about to our goal is including three purposes. The first, the VR game can automatically self-adjust the content according to the player's body health and mental condition and his body conditions. And we want to achieve a balance between game safety and the entertainment maximization. That is, we want to achieve the maximum entertainment, but lower the risk of the game harm. So how to achieve this goal? The first is collect the user's physical data through the external sensors. There are many sensors can collect our body's conditions, but we just use two sensors to collect the data. First is our heartbeat rate, and the second is our instantaneous motion of our hand. Because this project is just a proof of concept, so we just use these two sensors. And we can determine the user status of the players by analyzing the collected data. We're just using a simple CNN models, a machine learning method to judge what's the condition of this player now. Okay, so the methodology includes three parts. The first part is building up the platform and the UI, and the second part is development of the software and the hardware system, and finally we design the evaluation questionnaires. In my papers, some reviewers ask me to compare more studies, but I'm sorry, I can't find any other studies similar to our project. So I just use the questionnaires to evaluate our system. Okay, this picture including the methodology step 1 and 2. You can see from the our sensors and our platform, and we use the Unity to developing our program. And this is our CMM models. The structure of our CMM model is like this one. Okay, to evaluate our system, we can use the questionnaire to analyze three parts. The first one is exploring the rationality and the effectiveness of the control theory. And the second is to exploring the verification of system function. And finally is to exploring the user's subjective perception and experience. So let me see a video. Uh-oh. So can we bring prayer? The video. This is video. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. We skip. Okay, make it. Okay. Okay. So I skip this video play, and I will give you the conclusions. On the total of 25 students are selected as the game participant, and this is the result of the questionnaires, and we can find the percentage of each items. We give the conclusion that 72% of the users provided a positive response of the systems, and the weak item is in this is such list. Okay, it's only 3.8. Convenience and the smoothness of the experience of the systems, because somebody is not unfamiliar with the controller, and even he or she can't mount the helmet and how to control the content to control the games. Okay. The discussion and the conclusion, the subjective evaluation suggestions include first, further enhancing the systems control theory, because as I mentioned, I just used two sensors to collect the body data. So I think the control methodology can be enhancement. And second, improving the convenience and the smoothness of the game by providing more user-friendly controls method. And the third, we can enabling more accurate and personalized adjustment to the horror levels, because in our CM model, only 3 different levels are judged. It's easy, normal, and terrible. And the last one is we can consider the feedback and the perceptions of players to provide a personalized and optimized game experience. So we can guiding the future enhancement and refinement. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Any question from the audience, please? If there is no one, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your great presentation, and hope you will have a wonderful software developed at the end of this your work. Thank you very much.
You.
The next presenter is Mona Bahri, and the title of her presentation is, sorry, you can place it over there on the table, is wind speed prediction method using a CMD method model.
start.
May I know your university, please? May I know your university? University.
University of Newcastle in Australia.
She's, as you heard, she's from University of Newcastle in Australia.
Aussie. Oi, oi. You didn't say oi, oi. No, it's Aussie. Okay, you go. Best of luck. Just try not to touch the cable because sometimes it disconnects.
Sure, I'll try to do my best.
So over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Mona. I am a lecturer in University of Newcastle in Australia. And here I am presenting a result of, thank you. I've been a teacher for a long time. I think I'm loud enough, but if you say so, sure. Yeah, so I'm presenting our work with my colleagues on wind forecasting. And we developed a method called SEMD, long short-term memory model, which I'm going to introduce to you shortly. So why we care, why we want to predict wind data? We do need that because of the recent development and recent needs in renewable energy, and one of the renewable energy that we're really interested in is wind energy. We do need predicting the wind from the time that we start to plan a wind farm, to select a land or a space, a suitable place to build a wind farm, all around the way, and along the way of basically operating the wind farm, and also for safety and security. Along all those ways, we do need to have a good and accurate wind prediction, and forecasting wind is not really easy task to do, and that's because of the nature of wind data. The wind data are quite chaotic. They are impacted by many other factors, and they are highly noisy as well. We use in maths, I'm an applied mathematician, we use a term that we call them non-linear and non-stationary data. It's really hard to deal with those guys. Okay, so what we have so far. There are in general, three types of method that they use to forecast wind. One is physical method, which has been around for so long and is basically uses atmospheric and physical processes. It's great, widely used, but the only problem that it has, and that's the main problem with when it's come for wind farm, for example, in wind energy, is that they cannot have an accurate short-term forecasting. And that's a problem. Because as a operator in wind energy, we want to know how much, for example, how much a battery capacity for the next 5 minutes I need, how much planning we need to do for the next day. So we do need those forecasting for short term. There are different, and the second type of methods that they are statistical. They use the traditional time series analysis method for forecasting, which is a RIMA-ARMA. They're great. They also can have a good forecasting for the short term, but the problem is that these methods usually designed for linear data. They assume the data is linear. And as we discussed, wind data is not linear, so there is an issue there. This might not be really suitable. With the recent development of AI method, AI is another method that is widely used and is great. But the only problem is that wind data often they have high level of noise, and those noise can interrupt the learning process of the AI. So, for example, if you use some sort of machine learning, that learning process will be interrupted by the high level of noise. So that's why we cannot get like a quite accurate forecast. What should we do? There are some improvement that has been done recently, and then that's using kind of a hybrid method for AI. So basically a combination of two methods. One is AI, one some sort of decomposition technique, that's what we call it. And I will explain what it is this decomposition technique are. One of the common decomposition technique is one that's called empirical mode decomposition. Basically, decomposition technique is for example, if you have a complicated data, a time series, this decomposition, they break them down to the signals or the modes that that data is made from. So here in this study, we use a variation of EMD method along which we call it a smoothing ensemble empirical mode decomposition. Quite a mouthful, but I will explain what it means. Along with the long short-term memory technique. The data that we use is wind speed data provided by a wind farm in Victoria, Australia. Is 1 minute interval data from 19th to 26th of July 2019, and is elevated wind data collections from 116 meters above the ground. As you can see, quite a noisy time series that we're dealing with. Okay. Now, in general, this method that we're using for forecasting has 3 main steps. First step, we decompose the data using the SEEMD method. So we decompose the data, we get different signal, what we call them IMFs, or intrinsic mode functions. That's what IMF stands for. And then after we broke them down to different components, more simpler components, we use this in step 2, we use the long short-term memory for each of those components separately, individually. So we predict each component individually, then we aggregate the predicted data together. So there we have our predicted time series. I will go through, in this talk, I'll go through each step. I explain what they are and what our setting was and what the result we got. Step 1, the intrinsic, so the EMD method, SEEMD method. But before I get into that, because it's an updated version of EMD method, I better to just briefly explain what EMD is, and then I will explain what is SEEMD is. So, for EMD method, if we have a time series like this, right? So it's first we calculate the local maximum and minimum point, and then we basically use some sort of interpolation method to connect these maximum and minimum points. So we get like a upper and lower envelopes. Then we take the mean, which is going to be a red line coming up soon. Yeah, here we go. And then we take the differences between the red line and those yellow and blue line. And then we repeat this until we get a certain stopping criteria. And that would be our first and the highest, sorry. My speed wasn't perfectly aligned with the video. Okay, so this would be the first, then we call it, this would be the first extracted IMFs, or the component, which is always the highest frequency ones. Then with the remaining data, we keep repeating the same process, and then we get the rest of the modes, basically, or signals, or IMFs. And then at the end, the trend. So basically, if we have a time series like this, right, the output or the IMFs would be like that. So as you can see, the IMFs are way more simpler, and that's why it would be way easier for machine to learn and to predict. Okay, so that was the idea behind it. But now, what is this extra E stand for? So since the EMD was pioneered by Huang and all, and their team in NASA in 1998, it's been a lot of improvement. It had some limitations. One of the limitations was mode mixing, whereas the mode that wasn't really pure. It was combination of two frequencies. So those mode mixing was resolved by this important update, which is, we call it EEMD, or ensemble empirical mode decomposition. And where we add white noise in each step, and then we take the average. In the SEEMD, or smoothing ensemble empirical mode decomposition, we use the interpolation, using a smoothing spline interpolation technique rather than the original cubic spline. This is quite important, and it actually was one of the, it's resolved and purified a lot of the issues that the method has, like endpoint problem and not getting a unique component. And it's because the method is based on repetition of these, and then based on this, using this interpolation technique, choosing a right interpolation technique was quite important and impacted the result. Okay, so when I say we use just a smoothing spline interpolation technique, this is the formula that we're talking about. And then I don't want to just really get technical, mathematical with this. What I'll give you an idea, we adjust the level of the smoothness that we use by choosing the right P or the smoothing parameter. So if P is 0, we fit a straight line to the data. If P is almost 1, we have a cubic spline. Now, although you might think, okay, there's lots of freedom here to just use the p-value, but I did a study and then I found that for the EMD method, any p-value between 0.001 and 0.1 will do the job. Here is the data, basically. This was the original data, and these are the modes that we got from the data. So it's starting from the first mode, which is usually the highest frequency, and in this case is the noise, and then going to second, third, and so on until the trend. Now, we have each mode separately. We are in step 2. We use long short-term memory for each of those modes to predict them. So the neural network that we use for the machine learning is long short-term memory, as I said before, and is basically a recurrent network where the output of a certain neuron for a given time step is reused as an input for the following step. And this long short-term memory is quite well known for using for time series analysis and time series in general, because it has some characteristic of learning temporal pattern. So, in this study, we also tested other network structures, and for example, convolutional and bidirectional LSTM, and we found out, and along with the long short-term memory, and we found long short-term memory does the best job. So basically, we have 3 main layers for long short-term memory technique. The forget layer, that is controls the forgetting the old information. The input gate, which is learns new information, and the output would generate the prediction for the future steps. The experiment that designed, it was single-step prediction task, and it has, we split it, we had 9,000 data points, and we split them into training set, validation set, and test set. And we basically, for 300 epoch, we optimized the network parameter using the training set, comparing against the validation set to prevent overfitting and ensure improvement between epochs. To evaluate our prediction, we use 3 measures: mean absolute error, root mean square error, and R square, which is correlation coefficient. And here is the result. As you can see, except for methods, so the blue line is the predicted and the red one is the original. So for the first mode, which is noise and usually doesn't carry any information with, the predicted is overwhelmingly the amplitude is smaller, but it doesn't matter much because this mode doesn't carry a lot of information. But yeah, there is a differences in the result. But apart from that, from mode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are pretty accurate. This is the last 900 point that we predicted. Then for the mode 7 and 8, and also the trend, we get a little bit of shift, which is going to be the subject of the future study. We need to be able to just fix that, hopefully. And also a little bit of shift in mode 9 as well. But let's see how when we aggregate all these modes, what we get as the final step, which is the final step is aggregating all these modes and adding them all up. So that's another characteristic of EMD-based method, because you can simply add the modes together and you will get the time series. So and that's what we did here. We added all the modes along with the trend, and you can see that we got quite accurate result, except this shift here that we had, and that would be our next step for future. And as you can see, the mean absolute error and RMSE and the R square, those are really small, and then the R square is quite 0.93, which is quite good comparing with the literature. And in conclusion, the result comparing with the literature. So now here is the table in the right-hand side is a table I got from the review paper, Bedok. And they done compared a lot of method together, and this is an example of for wind speed. Just like for you to have the scale of the error that other study and other method got comparing with what we got. So it's like about the mean absolute error 21 or 13, whereas we got 0.05, which is quite significant. It was interesting. I just came from Japan and was renewable energy conference, and the scale of error for other method technique, it was around 12, 13, 11, 20, as the review paper said, which was quite higher than what we got. Here is another table from the same study, using again wind speed data. This time, with the ARIMA technique, which is the classic time series analysis method, and you can see the mean absolute error quite high comparing with what we got. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Any question from the audience, please? Thank you. Thank you. So we discuss about one of the paper in the that's then the other paper, because the previous one, yeah. So when it was published, so when it was
I am not sure, but I can get back to you about that. This paper, they had this is one of their results, but they compared a lot of course, it's a review paper. Compared a lot of method, and then this was one example, and they are from different years. Most of them are recent because this update of hybrid method, they are quite recent updates anyway. They just started, I don't know, maybe from 2013 onward, or 15 onward, so it shouldn't be too old. Yeah, no worries.
Thank you very much. You can ask questions later on. And
now I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Ahmed to give certificate.
Please, ma'am.
Mr. Shungun Park. The lights here. Mr. Raid Al-Ahmadi, he was not here in the last session, but he presented, but he was unable to get it. Raid Al-Ahmadi.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get on the bus for lunch. Please come with us.
चार्जर पड़ा रहे, चार्जर की खैर है। ये चार्जर की ले